In today's episode, we're going to have a book review of The Psychology of Money. And this book has so many takeaways that reminded me of the basics of life and how to look at money, and interesting ways that I probably felt like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And in today's episode, I'm sharing with you 3 of my takeaways. Jump into today's episode. My first takeaway from this book is that no one is crazy. And he explains that by the time anyone makes a financial decision, it's based on their life experiences, and in that moment in time, it checks the boxes that makes sense to that person. This applies to when we are judging other people. Sometimes you look at the things that a person does with their money and you're like, but that doesn't make sense, or that business clearly won't work. But it's okay, based on where they are. Now, you're probably thinking, Gabi, that is obvious. But do you really feel like it's obvious when you're there having opinions about people's perception of money? And he also explains that what we think we know about money is like, in our minds, like 85% of this is how money works. But when you look at the grand scheme of how money works, what we know is like a 0.001%. So in short, we know very little about money, and another person has a different point of view, and it's okay. And this also really helped me give myself some grace. When you make a business decision in the past and then it costs you money and you're like, but I should have seen it. In those moments, for me, this really reminded me that even me, the Gabi of the past of yesterday, who made that financial decision, I made it to the best of my knowledge then. Now I know better, and it's okay. So it really gave me a reminder, a very important reminder that every now and then we seem to forget. That's my first takeaway. My second takeaway from this book is that getting wealthy and staying wealthy require 2 different skills. This is another concept that you might feel like it's actually obvious, but the process of getting money, of making money, requires you to take risk, to get out of your comfort zone, to put in the work, to get your money and invest in it, and have some hope that where you're putting the money will make more money. That's how you get money. Now, when it comes to maintaining that wealth and having it grow, it requires another set of skills. You have to be a bit more skeptical of like, am I going to put it there and my money will get lost? It requires a level of being frugal and not to spend anyhow. Otherwise, it's no longer wealth if it's all spent. You get what I'm saying? So he emphasized the point that it requires 2 different skills. And when we are aware of this, when you start to make money, it's important to become aware that I need to shift, to separate your money. Like what he says is that you have money that you're willing to take risk with for it to grow, but then there is money that you need to have that you're more conservative with. Someone might say, but you're double-sided. Pick one side. No. For the meaning of wealth, in the way he explained it in the book, the meaning of wealth is that this is money that you have and you've not spent. That is what makes you wealthy. That's what you have in assets. So switching and keeping in mind that you have to have a balance of those 2 was another takeaway for me, an important reminder that I got from this book. My third and final takeaway from this book is that it's essential to have room for error, cash. Someone may say that, why do you have cash on you? You're missing out on opportunities. But it's this liquidity that will make it possible for you to survive on a day-to-day basis as the money you have invested is growing. And you can't be wealthy if you don't survive. And you can't use your plot of land to buy food today. You get what I'm saying? So he emphasized that when you're making decisions and in everything that we do financially, it's very important to have a level of room for error. If you've made a plan and you say, this is the business I'm getting into, be prepared for that plan not to go according to plan. That is where the room for error comes in, and he explains it in the form of having a certain amount of money that can take you through if you lose that job, if that business doesn't work. Those are my takeaways from this book. There are so many others. There's so many other takeaways that I got, and I'll be sharing on my Instagram a few posts in the month of July of the highlights that I got from this book. You might be thinking, but Gabi, I want to make money. How does the psychology of money help me in my everyday life? And with the number of books that I've read, I've realized that there are books that give you action steps of do this, do that. There's the Total Money Makeover, for example, by Dave Ramsey. It will give you ABCD action steps that you can take. And then there are books like The Psychology of Money, which will give you mindsets. It will give you ways that you can look at money and how you work towards making money, how you work towards growing the money or saving the money. It changes your mindset. And those are different books and they serve different purposes. So even as you go out to find books, you can keep that in mind. If what you're looking for today is a book on these are the action steps that I need to take, those are different. And this book, The Psychology of Money, is more of the mindset, including all the other tips that you're going to find in this book. They are more of how you look at money and how you interact with it. I hope you found value in this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.